Namaskar and welcome to Sansad Television. I am Vishal Dahiya and you're watching our show Perspective, where we bring you detailed analysis of key national and international issues. Today we're going to talk about self-reliance in defence manufacturing, specifically Make in India and Make for the World as well. Prime Minister Narendra Modi recently laid the foundation stone of C-295 transport aircraft manufacturing facility in Vadodara. Now, the facility will manufacture C-295 aircraft for the Indian Air Force through collaboration between Tata Advanced Systems Limited, Airbus Defence and Space SA, Spain. C-295 is a transport aircraft of 10-ton capacity with a contemporary technology that will replace the aging Avro aircraft of Indian Air Force. 16 aircraft will be delivered in the flyaway condition between September 2023 and August 2025. Remaining 40 will be manufactured at the Vadodara manufacturing facility itself. The first made-in-India aircraft is expected from September 2026. After the completion of the delivery of these 56 aircraft to Indian Air Force, Airbus Defence and Space SA will be allowed to sell the aircraft manufactured in India to civil operators as well and export to other countries also. So we'll try and understand the importance and the significance of this event, that is building a manufacturing facility for C-295 in India. Also, how does it transform the private defence manufacturing space and the overall aerospace ecosystem as well? And for more on this, we're joined by a distinguished panel of experts. Let me first introduce them to you, beginning with, we have with us in the studio today retired Air Vice Marshal P.K. Srivastava, defence expert. He's joining us. Welcome, Air Marshal Srivastava, to Sansad TV studios. Mr. Sunil Mishra, DG SIDM, is also with us, and Ajay Banerjee, senior defence journalist, is also joining us. Welcome both of you gentlemen as well. Let me begin with you, Ajay, and let's start by looking at the significance of this particular project, that is making of C-295 in India. Why is it so important and why is it so significant?
Well, first of all, let us be very clear to our listeners and viewers. It is a marquee event in Indian aviation history. This is the first time a private body, a private industry is going to make a plane in India in collaboration with Airbus of Europe, and Airbus has multiple factories in Spain, in France, and other places. This is important because this plane, once it's come to India, it's not just the military use. It will be an MRO hub, that is a maintenance, repair, overhaul hub. It will also be a very important civilian aircraft for short-haul routes in the Himalayas, where we have shorter runways, where tourism has great potential but is hampered by, since their airports are smaller, there's no space. This plane will be a very big player in the civilian market. And you would ask why it is not being purchased now, because the plane's MRO hub is not located in India. Once we have the plane's hub in India, the civilian market will also open up. On the military side, as I said earlier, it's a marquee event. We have now progressed to be a plane maker. Vishal?
Okay. And marquee in the sense, if you make a differentiation here as well, Ajay, this is the first time that the private industry, the private sector will be working on this. Otherwise, HAL is already working on Dornier. Am I right?
Yes, HAL is working on Dornier. And the Science and Technology Ministry has also flown a plane called the Saras. It is in trial and testing phase. This is the first confirmed aviation plane made in India by the private sector. I am sure, as Prime Minister Modi said yesterday, very soon we'll be making passenger aircrafts. There are big 2-3 companies which make airplanes in the world, that includes Airbus, Boeing and others. Okay. I'm sure we will be one of those people in the future.
Okay, we'll come to that aspect as well. But AVM Srivastava, I'd like to first bring you in here on the fact that this project has been in the works for quite some time now. And finally, it has seen the light of the day.
Actually, I have been associated with this project since very beginning when it was at RFP stage. And as I recall, it's, what he says, Ajay says, marquee event. I'll go by that because it's really a marquee event. You had to set up the processes in place. That means there was a strategic partnership policy which had to come in play. You had to also accept that beyond HAL, somebody else can also manufacture an aircraft. This was a national policy decision which had to be taken. It went through its own kind of rigor because there was a kind of representation by HAL in early times, 2011-12, that we can manufacture it, why it is being given to private industry. Then the benchmarks were set up. And these things, and we also wanted to establish defense aerospace ecosystem, because we needed an ecosystem. And we told ourselves that since we had done the LCA, the necessary ecosystem is somewhere there and we can take off from there. So all that has converged together and synergized, and then it also faced one very big problem because it became single vendor. Now, single vendor item going to a private sector was a huge kind of obstacle that had to be got over, and then it got the ministerial approval, and everyone supported it, government of the day and the opposition, and that's how we got it instituted in the private sector, and Tata Advanced Systems got the order. And it's a very huge order. If you see from that perspective, it's a 22,000 crores order, and everyone understands minimum 200 aircraft we need of this type, because this will be the workhorse in times to come of the Indian Air Force. As we retire N-32s, this will take the shape for that, and it's a dual-use aircraft. It can be used in the civil sector, it can be used here, it can be used by the Coast Guard. So if you take all these together and see the way our defense aerospace ecosystem coming in play, I would call it more than a marquee event. It's something which nation must remember, that yes, we are now aircraft manufacturers in the true sense. Both arms, public sector and private sector, are in play. And when they are in play, you can bring in the benefit of private sector, which is flexibility, technology transfer, and all that can take place in a manner that we have not seen. And it will not remain only at what we call final assembly level, where we get the components, parts, and assemble it. Like in many cases we did in HL, it can go down to all those 6,000, 7,000 modules which are there in the aircraft, and they can spread out to our system. And when they spread out and they start getting tied up with their kind of, their technology partners, actually we are going to see the days, I guess, I can presume and understand with my all 48 years of service in the defense aerospace, the next 10 years we'll have as much going on than what we couldn't achieve in 48 years. We'll have a lot of things going on for us, right? And this is a very momentum and very proud day for the country and for the people who are there in this domain.
Let me take that point to Mr. Sunil Mishra here. Mr. Mishra, as both the gentlemen here are pointing about this importance of this particular event in terms of putting down a facility for C-295 manufacturing, and that too involving private sector, that is looking at the overall defense aerospace ecosystem. So from an industry perspective, what kind of changes do you believe this project will bring to the overall defense aerospace ecosystem when we're talking about the players involved, from the smaller one to Tata Advanced Systems?
Thank you, Vishal. C-295 has given a fillip, a confidence, and has created an atmosphere in the whole industry that we are capable and we can do aircraft. And this has a significance because I find a lot of industry, medium and small scale, who want to get into the defense manufacturing space. And with these kind of projects, C-295, Prachand, submarine, ships getting built, and many other things which are happening in combined prowess of our public sector, private industry, and also FOEMs. The atmosphere which is getting created is very upbeat. And I also feel that as far as Indian industry is concerned, we have come a long way since the 80s and 90s. Our capability are significantly improved, and we can take on responsibilities of manufacturing high technology products, which I think with C-295, that confidence is very, very, very
one notch higher there. And since you mentioned, other platforms as well, Ajay, I'd like to bring you in here. When we're talking about self-reliance in defense manufacturing, various platforms are being built in-house. Indian Navy, as all of us know, is way ahead when we're talking about bringing in indigenization aspect. Now, what are the key focus areas when we're looking at defense indigenization from the Defense Ministry's point of view and from the forces point of view as well?
See, Vishal, the forces is in public domain that we have spoken about. The Vikrant is already there, it's sailing. We have made a submarine on our own, a nuclear, SSBN to be precise, a nuclear-powered and nuclear-enabled submarine. And we have made so many warships. The L&T and DRDO have made a kind of a gun called the K9 Vajra, which moves on tank armor. We have got private sector making newer equipment. The key focus now of the MOD is on three critical areas, Vishal. The first is aero engines, the second is chip manufacturing, and the third is military-grade materials. I'll just elaborate in a minute because the aero engine is very important. For us to grow as an aerospace power, we are in talks with three major companies of the world The Gas Turbine Research Establishment, that's the GTRE of the Government of India, will be in collaboration with these three companies to make an aero engine in India. We make a fighter jet which uses a foreign engine. We have to have our own engine. Second is the chipsets. The chips are all those electronic parts which make laptops work, which make our smartphones work, which make televisions work, which also make military aviation work. Now those chipsets, the Ministry of Electronics and Technology have given out a RFP, and they are asking for around 500,000 or 5 lakh chipsets which will be used for military grade work. Our own Bharat made chip. So far all the chips are imported. That means we buy a chip from outside, it is put in equipment and the programming is done here.
Okay.
But we don't know what is there in the chip. Now this is very important. The third part is military grade materials. Around 8,000 crore worth of military grade materials are imported each year. The Ministry of Defence has come out with a project report done by a Additional Secretary Rank Officer, which speaks about military grade materials. These materials need to be now made in India in some manner, or some kind of sourcing has to be done so that we are not choked in case of a crisis. Vishal, this is the future.
Okay. AVM Srivastava, these three aspects, aero engines, chips and military grade material. You also believe that these are the areas where we need to work a bit more, or from your experience in the past 5 decades or so, you believe that there might be some other areas where we might have to focus more, but we are in the right direction here.
So the next area which need to focus, we'll talk about later, but these three areas are absolutely earmarked areas. We did some kind of gap analysis. I'll go with Ajay on this count. What hinders our, establishing the defense aerospace industry in the country? And I remember I gave a presentation in 2014 way back to Secretary Defense Production. And that time we analyzed, everyone agreed that we have a gap at what we call, in aircraft manufacturing, you have final assembly level, then you have pre-final assembly level, and then you have what we call tier 1. Tier 1 is where aero engines, radars, all major components are made. We found that we have a gap over there. Even whatever we produce, we get these things coming from them. So that means as far as technology aggregation is concerned, we need to develop technologies for that so that we can do these things also together. The thought that time was that let tier 1 people associate with tier 1 vendors, like he mentioned, GE or Safran or somebody, and they bring in the technology. Now GTRE is involved in absorbing the technology, which will pass on to the industry. And aero engine, if you don't have your own aero engine, you are not truly an aircraft manufacturer, because aero engine is going to define the way aircraft is going to play out. And that's oxygen pipeline too. Chip manufacturing, we know if you have chip problem, none of things today will work. None of things will, whether it's automotive industry, it's aircraft, missiles, anything, everywhere the chips are there, and they are the ones who are doing the computing work. And if you really, we really focus at it, if technology is the precursor for your power or national power or the defense power, you have to get into what we call AI, artificial intelligence. That will be another focus area for which government has come out with a kind of proposal. And anybody who's working in this a new process has come in play. The funds have been reserved. Those small players can come and create the niche technologies.
Okay.
2 technologies which will daunt us still to come, which DARPA is also trying to harness. One would be ATR, automatic target recognition. See, when the war goes on today, in the next millennium, or not millennium, next decade or something, what will happen in the war? If you have the target information, precise information, and you have something which you can launch, beyond visual range, that is beyond the arm's length, you are a winner. This we saw in Russia-Ukraine war itself. Target information is coming from the Western sources to Ukraine, and they have precise weapons. They have only 3 weapons. If you look at it, they got javelins, which is for the tanks. They got Stinger missile, which is for the air defense, and they got HIMARS. These 3 are creating a superpower like a thing. They're holding it off, and they're not able to progress any further, and they're able to recapture some portions. So the idea is the moment you have grip over these technologies, which the processes, the methods, the policies, and the investment is coming through. I'm telling you, the country is moving towards something which we truly call self-reliance, or we say we'll make for the world. We started already making for the world, because Akash, our surface-to-air missile system, is being queried, that some people want to buy it.
Indeed.
LCA is being queried. Prachand is already there. Submarines is talked about. So the n number of, now we have come at a level what we call the product level, which touches the customer. somebody can buy. And product level where you have dependency on the major items like chips, self-dependency,
Okay.
and like aero engines, you are the god.
Okay.
You can really handle the industry.
Okay. Okay. Now let's hear it from the industry perspective as well. Mr. Joshi, how prepared is Indian private defense industry to tackle these challenges which both Ajay and AVM Srivastava are pointing out in terms of aero engines, chip manufacturing, military grade material as well, ATRs, other refined technologies, fine point technologies there as well. How prepared are we?
Indian industry is now going to also work on R&D, because in the recent budget, 25% of the R&D budget has been allocated for private sector. The mechanics are being worked out, but I'm sure the kind of skills and the kind of capabilities Indian industry has developed, as I said, in the last 30-40 years, we are at a threshold where if the technologies are developed inside the country itself and the IP rests here, and in certain cases wherever technology is required from outside, there is no harm in taking that technology also from outside, rather than developing it over a longer period. So a mix of this definitely is going to provide Indian industry the capability to reach that refined stage of high technology manufacturing.
Okay. Okay. Ajay, do you agree with that part that we have the wherewithal in terms of intelligence, in terms of talent as well? We need to focus a bit more on R&D, as Mr. Sunil is referring to, and therein we then go one notch higher again from the product level, which AVM Srivastava was referring to.
Yeah, we are already at the product level in certain cases.
Yeah.
Because we have done 13,000 crore of exports last year. We have touched 8,000 crores in the first 6 months of the fiscal. And the target is around 18,000 crores for this year, this fiscal, ending March 31st. So that means we are at a product level. Yes, the confidence of the foreign buyer will come once we start making the critical equipment on our own. That will include the chipsets, the software sourcing codes, and the engines and the military grade materials. But if the buyer knows that we are importing military grade materials, then it can be choked. So we rather have the military grade materials on our own. These are the things which are very, very important at the moment. Industry is progressing very well, and I must congratulate the industry on this part, and also the government for its policies on promoting the industry on this part. Because see, the private sector was till 20 years ago was like a pariah for the defense ministry. Today they are sitting in all the high table of the ministry's decision-making bodies, and they are discussing matters openly that this is what we need. See, at the end of the day, let us get real. The DPSUs, that is the Defense Public Sector Undertakings, just cannot take the load of the new technology infusions, because they have the certain processes which are in the government sector alone. And they are doing their own work, like the HAL is making the Tejas, great work. HAL is making helicopters, the ALH, great work, carry on doing. But we need to have a parallel, that is the private industry, like the C295. And in the future, we also need people, private industry, making warships. L&T won a contract to service US warships just 3 months ago. That's a very significant step, according to me. So if a US warship can come get serviced by a private sector, why not our own warships be serviced by a private sector? Let's see, it'll happen in the future, Vishal.
Okay, okay. Mr. Mishra, as Ajay and AVM Srivastava are pointing out, the key focus areas for the defense forces, for the Ministry of Defense, when we're talking about defense manufacturing. Similarly, from the industry's perspective, what are the key focus areas, or what are the, most tangible areas when results can be achieved as quickly as possible, wherein we can do much more in a shorter period of time, and areas where we need to do a bit more, but perhaps it might take a bit longer?
The areas where high technology is involved, we need to do a bit more and take some more time. But there are a lot of military equipment, lethal and non-lethal, where our industry is very well equipped and doing very well, and not only doing very well domestically, but is also exporting. Like, for example, there are industries in the medium scale making body armor and probably exporting to more than 100 countries. Similarly, ammunition and such equipment where basic engineering and engineering where even people who are doing automobiles or supply chain of automobiles can be utilized. So here we have a very wide engineering industry base, which we can utilize very quickly to achieve very good results.
Okay. AVM Srivastava, one last thing which we would like to understand, since you've been with the Indian Air Force for a significant amount of time, worked with the industry as well. What is it that the end user, wants? What is it that the end user looks for? Because ultimately, whatever processes we're talking about, products which we are talking about, be it the consumer in terms of, internal, from the Indian perspective, it'll be our own defense forces. And when we are trying to export it, it'll be, defense forces of other countries as well, and other vendors. So what is it that the end user would be looking forward to in the times to come?
See, end user, if you really ask me, since I worked on both sides and worked in executive capacity, when I was in Air Force, we were looking at the operational characteristics which is relevant for my war fighting at that point of time, or the foreseeable time. And what industry is looking at, when we go into the industry, since we are now, we are at a different space and time. Earlier, we were given something which is a little short of that. So what synchronization has come between the user and the industry, which I see now, is that the Air Force, Army, Navy, they have started accepting. Navy was accepting earlier too, so therefore Navy is a little better off in indigenization. But Air Force started accepting, okay, we'll take this and we'll grow it. It happened with LCA. We have Mark 1, Mark 1A, then Mark 2, all that coming up. This shows that this graded response of the industry, which the industry learns, Air Force has said, okay, we'll accept it. And that acceptance has bridged the gap. Now coming to this point that, okay, we got sellable equipment where we need to invest our energy and focus. We are very good as a country as far as rocket science is concerned. It's not rocket science in this country. Whether it is a launch vehicle in terms of PSLV or it is our surface-to-air missiles, Agni Prithvi series, we are very good at it. So we must be able to encash this as a nation. The second thing we are very good at it is that we can really write the software. Given the environment, agile environment, we can really write the software, and we have to understand that all good software development takes place using the agile processes. So we need to adopt to that. If I go in the public sector where I worked, I don't have that agile process really built into it. I still have the waterfall kind of system coming up. Okay, you first fix up the requirements, and then you're always chasing the trajectory of the developments. That doesn't happen. So we need to understand as a nation on both sides, the users and the industry, that we need to collaborate and not be demanding. You collaborate, you guide them, hold their hand, which SIDM does. And now that understanding has come to a fruition, and therefore you see there's certain spurt of things, and policies have come to support it.
Okay.
Policy is very important. One thing has been accepted tacitly, that okay, combat aircraft, combat helicopters, combat this thing will be done by the HAL. Okay, that's their why. I'm saying this on to the viewers on television, and the transport, and that kind of recce helicopters, other things can go in the basket of the private sector.
Private sector.
And you cannot you cannot be doing bidding every time. If there's a transport aircraft manufacturer, next time we go to him, we fight with him and lower the prices. But every time we can't be doing bidding, which is our process. If we do the bidding every time, a new person comes up, now he starts greenfield. That's where the problem is. A capital intensive field as far as this thing is concerned. It happens in US also. You give one pie to Lockheed Martin, another to Boeing. It keeps toggling.
Okay.
That we have to do. Okay. So as long as we understand that as a nation, I think we will not face any problem in really climbing up the ladder very fast.
Okay. Thank you so much, AVM Srivastava, Mr. Sunil Mishra, and Ajay as well, for sharing your views and insight with us and our viewers, as our experts were pointing out not only the significance of the C-295 project, but also the trajectory and the prospects of Make in India, Make for the World concept when we're talking about defense manufacturing and the processes which are already in place, what more needs to be done and what can be expected in the years to come. We'll come back again with a different topic. Till then, keep watching Sansad Television. Thank you.